One thing about being in an area like this, I would say the view is nice, right? The view is nice. But if I were to live in a manner that I would be extremely happy, then I would probably, be surrounded by cops. Why? Because the mentality sucks at places like this, okay? Oh, you don't see it now, but I'm not really being Tracilyn, excited to be alive today. I'm Tracilyn sharing with you insight that when I came to this place, I was what? Scared to death that I would never be able to take care of myself again. That's a horrible thought. I didn't have to be like that. Jesus Christ, I'm not even 40 years old by the time I got here. Plenty of life inside of me. I need my own money. And you want to say, sure, you think that's the answer. That is the answer. God, but God must be an idiot because God doesn't lead you to your own money, but God keeps telling you you need it. How can we solve that problem? How about we slip down this staircase and then we sue the government for making an open and obvious law? If they can't afford to take care of stuff, then they should remove that stuff from nature. Get over here and remove this staircase. Whoever is the Troy Township supervisor. If you're too fat and lazy to climb over here and clean it up, there's a job there. Get your shovel, get your rake, hose it down with water. There's plenty of it here. Before somebody slips down and they could die on impact. But if they lived through it, they'd be smart to sue. I hated coming out here and hearing about this open and obvious law when I smacked my head. My beautiful face, my beautiful head. Believe it or not, in the Ohio's leadership's manner, I got my ass kicked just because of their way of life. Does that mean I get to walk up behind a governor? Who's the higher rank in Ohio? Do I get to smack you in the fucking back of the head? And I don't even have to say I'm sorry. Is that how you teach people? Well, there's no need to really apologize. Remember that. Check this out. You see this? It looks to me like a little girl on a balloon. It's blue. And here's this. Is that a puppy dog? That's cute, isn't it? The lighthouse. Do you know what the lighthouse was used for? The reasoning for a lighthouse? That's very important. I learned that in school. Does anybody remember where the first lighthouse was and the reasoning for it? I don't want to tell you what I think that I remember from. How about if people were way out somewhere, need a point of focus to lead their way to what it is they're aiming to lead into, to be led into? Is it off the coast, onto land? You need a center focus point. And this is what pisses me off about the Christian community is what? Jesus Christ in the Christian community is the center focus point. But you miss out the whole surrendering to the truth inside of your brain. Inside of our brain. Should I go smack some pastors on the forehead? Your brain, assholes. Psychology, assholes. Why isn't there psychiatrists standing up at churches and utilizing Christian? Because they'll tell you what? Well, you don't need the Christian faith, you need words. Okay, so then why isn't there big establishments where psychology is what is learned? Instead of listening to people like Tom Cruise and all the Hollywood celebrities tell you it's all about science, is it? While somebody else is singing, they blinded me with science. How about psychology, dickheads? If I was in California, I'd push to what? Have the Scientology fucking church shut down. Bunch of retards. You don't want that shit all over America. Words. Words rule. Your numbers, whatever the hell they mean to you. I want to see you communicate with just numbers. I'd laugh at you. Words. Hey, come here. Oh, we get that. Even a dog will learn that. Even a dog. Dogs are pretty smart, aren't they? Yes, they are. Words. How do they learn what come here means? Come here. You can say it many different ways. You can say it very authoritative, very demanding. It's gorgeous. I want to go over here a little bit. Look us over here. a nice place to have out paddle boats. Or electric ones. Like I keep singing about these jet skis. Right? Little motorboats. They're not powerful, just to go for a casual ride down the river. Put on your life jacket so you're safe. You can go for like a mild electric jet ski. This looks like a perfect place for it, doesn't it? When I see places like that, I think, you know, why aren't there people out there? There might be at some point. I don't know. Later this year, another time before. Oh, here we go. We found a staircase that's clean. Let's be safe. It is concrete. One slip. Rest assured. Was there going to be people gathering around you and a Joyce Myers on TV, on somebody's smartphone telling you did it to yourself? You weren't watching where you were walking. Is that it? How about this is somebody who's been wanting to live in their own idea of life for many, many years but didn't understand it. And then when they start to understand it, they realize the only thing that they needed in this lifetime was not a relationship with people. The only time you need people is if you need a servanthood to your heart. A service to your heart. A service to your heart. I need a mechanic. I need a mechanic. But what does that mechanic need? Money. That's what's best. Come on. It's what's best with what's here already. I need a doctor. I need a dentist. Okay? All of them need money. You're telling me that people is the way. Only what if all these people are flat-ass broke? Well, there you go. Learn to get along with each other. No, we're not here to learn to get along. Not that way. Joyce Myers is full of shit and should be sued. That's exactly what should happen to everybody. What the hell is wrong with you? Don't you want people to live and be happy? Joyce Myers, take time off and go read the fucking Bible. Stop running it as a ministry and go let God minister to you. I believe that God's been talking to you the whole time you've been ministering to others. Listen to your own words. You stop making it about what you're making it about. Some people are sincere. I just want to get my needs met and take care of myself. There are some things in this lifetime I want to do. Then I got tied up with this freaking recording my music. I wanted to hear my music. Okay? I've never played with one fucking person my whole life that can play my own music the way I play it in the studio. I'm the only one. Me. The only other people that would play like that is people I would pay. So why ain't I being paid? I'm not paying people to play with me. If somebody wants to get paid, I put this video out to a musician who wants to get paid to play with me. I want you to have the balls to approach me so I can kick you in the balls. I'm not paying you to play with me. I'm not paying anybody to play with me. Go to fucking hell, you bastards. Okay? Some people don't care about all the things that you want them to care about. Okay? Most people I seen that are doing music, live performances, yeah, that way, they look like they're miserable as shit. And they have stories of themselves banging heroin into their body and snorting coke and drugs, and listen to their messages and what comes out of their words. They're talking to people, 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 and what did God teach me? You want to be talking God. Okay, that's what you want to be talking about. God didn't create you to have a relationship with people and not God. And you ain't gonna have a healthy relationship with anybody if you don't know psychology. If you're not familiar with the truth in your head, why are you with people? Just to be with people? That's what Joyce Myers teaches you. Well, it's somebody. God gave you somebody. No, it doesn't work like that. Being lost in the brain gives you a whole lot you don't want. Okay, I'm in an entire whole state that I didn't want to live in, especially for the rest of my life. And I was crying and I was thinking, maybe I'll be able to figure things out sometime. How about if I just open up and be honest like God's telling me to do? Tell them what's going on. Well, then everybody starts abusing the shit out of me. Hey, Huber Heights, I had to live in a household where some old man, right in his 50s, are we old now? Smacked around his teenage kid, beat the shit out of him right in the bedroom right beside mine, and I knew if I did anything, you fucking bastards would arrest me. Because I would have beat the hell out of him. Huh? And then I would have understood things the officer didn't understand, and I would have tried to beat the hell out of him too as he took me out. See, because that's what happens. Lost souls everywhere I look. Especially in the police departments, which scares the shit out of me. You coming onto my property and telling me to go out back to lay out? Come on. If I live at a place, whether it's mine indeed or not, it's mine because I'm living there. At the time. A cop does not have the right to walk up to me and tell me I can't lay here or I can't lay there on the lawn that God has provided me. And God has told me that the 3 houses in Huber Heights, tell them that you're going to own those houses someday. Well, there's other people living in them. Well, there you go. Now what? Now what do we do about that? Because if I would have lived in those houses, chances are all of them would have ended up being down and one would have been erected. And guess what? That whole street would have been shut down because what? That cop didn't know what I know. This is a very dangerous place to lay in the yard when people drive through it. Okay, why is that? Are they drunk? Are they on their smartphone or making a selfie at the time? It's a very dangerous intersection too if you want to turn left. Why don't they do something about it? You know, the township. They're building new car washes and everything. They got the U-Haul. They're building the new library at the new location. What are they going to build at the old location? And meanwhile, they treat people who have heart for God, who have heart, and are in tune with shit, like shit. People paying people to come play down the street. And there's somebody that lives in their neighborhood that's better than all of them, especially in the songwriting department. And you treat them like shit. So if I was living in New Jersey, or if I was living in Pennsylvania, or I was living in California, I'm from Los Angeles, I'm a rock star, right? I'm like Joan Jett, I live in fucking New York. I'm a rocker my whole life. I commit my life to rock and roll, is that it? I don't commit my life to fucking nothing but serving God. Hey, let's pay all these people to come way out here. Ask Joan Jett how long it takes her to drive. Is she driving or is she flying? And if she flies, is somebody gonna give her a private flight? Or does she gotta fly commercial? Huh? Do they search her in the band before they get off the plane? Or before they get on it? Gee, we wouldn't want them to, what? Have a pocket knife or something and end up flying the airplane into one of our buildings? We gotta search everybody now, we're all potential threats. Or do they drive out? Because that's probably like what? Let's run it up on Google Maps. Is it about 400, 500 miles? I guess it depends on what part of New York she's living in. Now wait a minute, it's 450 miles from where I come from. You know, before they put the big white Swift trucking company on the corner of Lickdale right across the street from Wendy's. You know, forbid, we need to have another fast food joint in town. Why don't somebody just get balls and sue them and shut all of the fast food places down for how unhealthy they are? It can be proven. It's not just unhealthy to them. The whole process of it is unhealthy. Say to the cow just before its last moo. Huh? How was that cow abused before it was even slaughtered? I come from a farm where there was lots of garden and corn. Yeah, they slaughtered animals, all right. Okay, I hope they did it lovingly. At least I tried to love the farm animals. I didn't know I was going to be forced to eat them. You know, back when I was a child. Evidently, my God wants me to what? Have your favorite. Do you know what? When I was a kid, before I was 3 and I could walk, I used to go down and help a farmer. And I only recall very little, but I remember loving a special pig. It was a unique pig. And I wanted to love the other pigs, but the other pigs, they didn't seem to want me as much as the one that was kind to me. You think that was God inside that pig? So I didn't want to be tailoring to that one pig specifically just because it appeared that I liked it and it liked me. So I have to feed all of them equally, right? But I loved and I pet the pig that I liked the most. So I didn't starve the other pigs, I didn't abuse them, but I did acknowledge connectivity with the one. The same one that in the trailer, just up from the farm, was on our kitchen table. And it was very much demanded into my brain that I give grace and thank God for the food. In my opinion, God wanted me to have my very favorite and have it be a part of me. Because evidently God knew we were going to be moving. Do you think so? Do you think God catches on to things and already knows what's going on in advance? Well, I never forgot that. I don't hold on to it always, and I never really sat down to think of the different reasonings as to why that happened. I just remember thinking, why my favorite? Why not one of the others? That's exactly what I said at the table, you know? And it was very hard for me to give thanks for the food knowing it was my favorite. And then I ate it. And I didn't like that. I don't want to share that too much, but it's just bizarre. Maybe God wants me to have the things I love and have them be a part of my life. If you love it, don't you think, as we're going through life, and you're being real, and you love something, don't you think that God wants you to have that in your life? You know, it's not yours, but while you're there, don't you think God, this like invisible something, wants you to be happy all of your days, your whole entire life while you're here? Or do you think God wants you to be miserable? Because I'll tell you what, living in the United States frickin' goddamn ways and the laws that they force upon everybody makes us all miserable. But hey, they're entitled, their right to live on the beach is good. As another Mr. Office person tells us, well, they did it to themselves, Tracilyn. No, they didn't, because what? We have mental communications and you're lying about shit. They get misled in life, period. The reason for most of the people disappearing, period, I don't know what happened to where's my child? Hello, there's a camera on your child. Hello, there is mental communications, direct mental communication ability by some kind of life form. Is it in the sky, another planet? Is it via satellite? To a rich perverted person who wanted your child for themselves? You think there's an entire country where children end up going, being led to? What do you think goes on in that country? You probably live into a different way of life, don't they? Look at this. I love stuff like this a lot. If I was going picnicking, I would say that this would be a really nice place to go. So, anyway, I talk about what I talk about right now. You think I'm going to talk about that for the rest of my life? I hope not. This is kind of me getting out a few last things as I'm getting ready to go down to Tennessee, and I'm going up to Derby, New York, because I want to talk to some fuckheads that toyed around with me while I was homeless. I owe them a visit, especially a smart-ass bass player. Do we want to put something in writing? And then scrap in the yard? Because I've noticed that people will treat you like shit when they don't know what the hell you're going through, if they perceive you as somebody to treat like shit. That's really nice. Yet again, guess what? I said bass player, which means musician. Most musicians are fucking assholes because they don't take the time to do the things that the songwriter and recording artist has to endure and go through in order for all of it to happen. They're usually just using everybody else for temporary whatever. I'm in a band. Really? Did you buy your house with a band that you're in? Did you? Do you think Vince Neil did? Do you think Vince Neil and what's that other guy's name that plays bass? Do you think he paid for his house by playing live shows? One thing is, you might be a bass player, Odo, from Derby, New York. Did you buy a house with your fucking ability? Because the place I was renting, I paid for with my entertainment abilities, asshole. And you don't do that by being a dickhead like you assumed I was. You know, I'd like to take the bass player that was in the studio with me. Hey, Tony, you know who I'm talking about. And I'd like to take him by the back of the neck and throw him into a fucking hotel and tell him that you gotta learn how to survive like I did. Ain't nobody gonna help you because I won't let them help you. And then we'll wait till you go through serious amounts of years of abuse, okay, including with the law. And then when we just know that you're in a serious needed position of help, we can just continue to down talk you. Would you like that? Macho man? Because I'm a little bit stronger now. Do you know that? And the problem is you don't know who the hell you were talking to, as somebody could have laid you flat on your fucking ass. You don't down talk me, you son of a bitch. You're gonna acknowledge it was a blessing to be on a recording with me. And it's a blessing that you're still breathing. Why is that? Because when you're going through life and you're trying to be a loving sweetheart, yeah, because you know there's something else going on too. Because it's almost like there's a beast inside of you. And the best way is to stay in a Christ likeness, but you might not be familiar with that, as you like to give insults to the one person who might be able to be a vessel for you, life. Because let's face it, if I was in a studio with Vince Neil and I was just doing a small instrumental part, and if he wasn't in the mood, or appeared that way, and it looks like he's struggling with something, right? He's dealing with shit. And I saw him sitting down, one of the first things I'd do is go over and insult him, right? I wouldn't say something nice to him, huh? Out of curiosity as to what's the matter. Huh? Is there something that I can do for you? And some people would say, Tracilyn, lighten up, because it was only a situation that happened back in 2010. Is it? Yeah, but I've been being harassed since 2016 by people that I know Stephen C. Johnson is tied to. Bon Jovi's tied to. Madonna is tied to. Tony, Miranda evidently knew that the people I will learn is not who they say they are. I've been being harassed for years while I'm recording my music. Evidently, there is a power structure of human beings that definitely does not like recording artists. They don't like Christians. They don't like people who acknowledge, whoa, I shouldn't be working for everything, especially if I'm not going to have the fulfillment in the life that I desire. Don't you think we're already making the wrong choices? But pastors, you ain't gonna tell us that, because you're getting paid off, okay? Not just with money, with all kinds of perks. But why don't you just teach people the Christ and the necessity for them to learn to get along with each other, instead of with God, knowing the fact that we might be around all the wrong people, like Joel Osteen says. And being positive isn't gonna change anything. Huh? It changes it for you. You wanna max it. Do you know what God taught me? You wanna be the very best version of a human being that you can be, whether there's people around or not. It's not because Joyce Myers would say, because God's around. Well, yeah, if you wanna put it on God, that's great. No, for your own sake. Doesn't it say there in the Bible somewhere, for your own sake? For your own sake. For the sake of life, for your own sake. You want to be happy all of your days. You want to be fulfilled. You want to feel that things are occurring. And the problem is when you're approaching people and you're asking them about the things or mentioning about the things that are going on. Like I talked to David Ashcraft, okay, and I talked to a few people about that. I was having a sensation of it. It felt like the things that was happening at home were later being discussed at church in their sermons. Like I felt like there was a bunch of people that was probably invading my home somehow and listening to, or in my private life, and then they were turning into sermons somehow at church service like the next week. And guess what? There's a good chance that that is correct. And why is that? Because I'm pretty sure that they try to divide up the human race, and there's humans, even though all of us are observed, that are observed very strictly, very strongly, and then whatever it is that's assigned to us that's observing us is utilizing us for television, for radio, for mega churches. And why is that? Because they're trying to get out of the human race what they want to get out of it. And when we start getting into the Word of God, the Holy Bible, we realize the discomfort that is with us throughout our life is not because of God's goodness. It's because we're being manipulated and forced. I didn't want to go to school. In fact, God told me what? That's why I asked, why couldn't I go with our next door neighbors that I'm not 100% sure, but I think they were Mennonite. I wanted to go to their school, not a public school. I was looking forward to that in life. Then, not today. And I'm not saying that's the better way. I don't know. You tell me. But in other words, would have I gotten into the Bible? Would I started being instilled with morals and values that are beneficial for life, not just for me, but for my fellow mankind? And then, when I moved from suburban, I cried yet again because I didn't want to move to the city. I had to go to a city school where I got beat up on a regular basis. So I played hooky all the time and I tried to talk to people. Don't tell me it's my fault, Mr. Hand in Your Pocket. A child, an underdeveloped mind, can only say what they can say. They're trying to tell you. Well, if you don't go to school, I even had, was it the principal, the vice principal, tell me? If not, then the law, right, cops, are gonna end up fining your mother. And possibly she could do jail time, or you could be separated from her. Because I used to miss about a month and a half to 3 months of school. Because why? I hated it. And what did God tell me by the time I was in 8th grade? Algebra 2. I was still remember to I was by the door. Do you know what God told me? Walk out of this classroom. I closed my book, and God told me to walk. Leave everything here and just walk out of the classroom. You're not going to learn anymore. You don't need Algebra 2 for your life. You don't need Algebra 2. And they're not going to teach you any more than they already taught you. In other words, lessons learned. I learned what I needed to. Do you think God wants me to memorize all the Disney books and Curious George and the entire library filled with books of fiction and nonfiction? Can I ask you something? I don't know this for sure, but what would things that are not real benefit my life? Can a story be told that's beneficial for life without making things up? Can we be real about shit and keep it entertaining too? I got the shit kicked out of me when I was a kid. Do you believe that? And that's why I learned karate, Jason Odo. Ishinru, karate. And what'd God tell me? You only need 2 stripes. The average person can't do any better than that. Okay? That's what God told me. I thought I was thinking my whole life. It's my brain. And what are you learning? Evidently something was drawn and assigned to you. But that doesn't mean it's not more than one person or one life form. A whole station. There might be a whole planet up there. A station just for one life, for you to have one life. And meanwhile, I'm not just letting myself down. They're being left down because what? Because anything I do is illegal. It's almost like you have to go to court and you have to get to the highest ranked judge on the planet so you can get his attention, that he understands that you are here to fulfill your heart and its desires. That's why every man is here. So then why do we keep raising our children the same way? This is a nice park. Some people would say something nice, Tracilyn. Look at this. You got a volleyball? I haven't been to a picnic, a family outing, a friend outing, especially one that they don't gossip about each other, probably my whole life. Because no sooner is the family outing done, the ones that Joyce Meyer says, God did give you family, learn to get along with them, they're all talking about everybody else and how much they hate even going. Well, God gave them to you. No, do you know what God told me? There was a time before I came out that I went to a coal city, Shamokin, and the entire fucking goddamn city appeared to like me and invited me into their house and their family. And what did God tell you then? There's more than what the hell you've been living your whole life. God didn't give you people, learn how to get along with them. Be familiar with the life inside of your head and make choices in favor of it, Joyce. Say it. Why aren't you teaching people you want the life fulfillment inside of your skull? Why isn't anybody teaching us that? How do we do it? Well, you gotta go get a job. We start off at McDonald's and then we go to college. Do you know what God taught me every time? Reading the Bible, studying psychology, surrendering to the truth within yourself the best you can, and hold on to life. Whatever the hell that means to you, it's like an invisible rope. That's how you stay alive. Meanwhile, God will teach you what? You're dancing and fucking not dancing, you're splashing in blood. Is it God's blood? After I took a bath in it, huh? And God told me, stay focused on me. See, one thing I can't stand a lot of times, which just doesn't seem too bad, is I like a hole net. See how that one's kind of detached? I like what they call a new net. And I look for basketball courts. So just this one looks pretty good. It looks like it takes care of it. This one over here looks like it might be ripped a little bit. But there's places that have basketball, the rim and all of it, the backboard. And there's different kinds. I don't like the chain too much. It sounds good when the ball drops in it and stuff. I've seen those. I'm kind of traditional, the rope. And there's something about when that ball goes straight in. When you're standing like half court even, some people can do way more than that. Okay, some people can do full. I saw one person, one time, one hand, kind of a hook, full court. This guy looked like he was athletic. You think he was someone special? Stopped by the neighborhood, not just for me, but because he was there. Somebody that could actually play basketball. Do you think sometimes like real pro basketball players stop by like basketball courts in neighborhoods. And for whatever reason they're there, they're just, I'm gonna go shoot a couple hoops. And they don't tell anybody who they... Did you ever feel like you met somebody like that? Like you're looking at their body and you see their calves. It looks like it's definitely not somebody from this neighborhood. They take care of themselves a lot different than what you're used to seeing. Their body is more solid than like, you know, my flesh, my skin, my body, my meat has some jiggle to it. Where some people, it's like almost like they're solid muscle. A large portion of their body's muscle. Well, that's what I saw one day. And you could smell the sweat in their body. And it smelled good. I just said, what did I say? Well, you sweat a lot. When you play, you sweat a lot. Are you hot? Do you need water? I live right over there. See, that's stuff I would say to people when I meet them and they were nice to me. And maybe I wasn't too smart saying that. I live right over there. I live right over there. I'm not alone, though. I'm never alone. I would make sure I said that. I live there with my entire family. They're big. That's what I would say. And I know everybody in the block. It's kind of like my family. It's like we're all family. And I used to love to go to a basketball court. And it wasn't because I was good. Sometimes I'd ride my bike over, and then I'd ask if I could watch. Because I would see, to me back then, they appeared to be more grown-up and definitely serious basketball players. I tell that some of them, sometimes, you remind me of the people I see on TV. The way that they would play, and they'd put their knees down, and they'd kind of like pat. And I used to love the way their focus was. I love to see like people that are really, really skilled, and they're really into it, and the way the ball would move around their bodies and stuff, the things that they could do with it, like not in a perverted way. Like you sincerely, you know, you realize that you're turned on, but not in a way like people would think perverted. You're turned on is a word that you use over the fact that you're wowed that a human body, that there's people right here that can play just as good as somebody you've seen on TV. This is in my early developing stages, so I never stopped having a love for the court, even when it's empty. Sometimes, like, I feel as we go through life, there's seasons of times that we would go to a basketball court, and like this whole playground be filled with lots of people and hard to park. Parking lots would be filled and the streets would be filled. There's a lot of excitement going on, a lot of what they would perceive as children, a lot of adults, blankets, big coolers filled with water and fruit punch and who knows what else. People, like many of them, are enjoying life, doing all kinds of things. And then all of a sudden, nobody's playing anymore. And then what happens? Are you one of these people? You end up going back to that place, if it still exists, or another place. You start tossing the basketball into the net. You have a recall, memories. That's what we would call them, memories. And then you kind of wonder, like you're trying to figure out, like you're in this world, but yet, what happened? And the only thing that I could say is I met somebody at some point here in Ohio that said, basically the things that are true for you, the real you, has never changed. Your likes, the things you like, they don't change as you go through life. I guess. He didn't say it like that, but in other words, whatever it is that you really truly loved about life, ta-da! You still like. So this is good news. So you start recalling as you go back through your life, and you start to realize that you love places like this, and you realize that God understood what you didn't need was a whole lot of the worldly mishap, responsibilities, but a life that you could enjoy. In the size yard that we used to have, the basketball court pretty much would have fit in it. For the most part, I would say yes. So instead of having a big yard, I used to tell people that the playground was our yard now. So there's a whole lot of yard responsibility to the home or to the house because we lived in an apartment. So what did I do a majority of the time? I played. What people would call playing. I played outdoors. I played at the basketball court and I talked to... I never really thought... I was leery of some people, but I would say overall, it's almost like I went out in full-fledged trust. And I was just as nice to other people that I could be. Yes, I did run into conflict, on a semi-regular basis. But I always tried to stay away from any kind of possible things that I don't want to be near. Is it hard to find in your area? A net that is like all together? This one isn't too bad. A lot of people would say that. It's not too bad. But I love to go to places where the net is like almost brand new or it's all full. You go somewhere and they're all ripped up and stuff. It's not the same, and there's not even a net there. I would tell people if I ever have a property, because I saw a mansion above the neighborhood I lived in. I got to walk in my first mansion in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And they had a tennis court. I used to say to people, I said, when I grow up and I have a home, okay, because I'm thinking that's something we do have. I'm not thinking homeless. When I grow up and I have a home, instead of having a tennis court, I want to have a basketball court. Okay? And that way, when people stopped over to visit me, they could shoot a few hoops and we could play some childhood games and talk, just hang out. And what I realized as I went through life, that there's a good chance that a majority of the time I'm going to be alone. And chances are, because I listened to assholes like Joyce Myers for a long time, that would be more in alignment with He who's in the world for a believer. Because you don't use Christ so you can get along with people. You need Christ because when you start surrendering to the truth and you tell the government to shove their fucking taxes up their ass, they ain't getting none from you. There's a lot that could happen. When you walk up to the highest rank in the military and you tell him right in front of his whole whatever unit, get out here in the fucking yard. You call him out in the yard. No guns. Come on. Be a man. All I am is a sissy, okay? Surely I can't do no harm to you. And you ask them what the fuck is going on with people harassing you in the privacy of your home before you embarrass them in front of everybody. Because it's ignorant. You can imagine how many people that happens to. See, they try to what? That's the first thing they try to do with people who they don't like. At the time when I was at LCBC, I was already an established local solo acoustic entertainer, and I was in a TV commercial. Think about what you were doing. My music was on AM, FM, and internet radio. I was in all the local newspapers, merchandise. I stayed away from magazines because I wasn't interested, unless somebody was paying on my behalf. I wasn't interested in paying for it because I don't believe I should pay for things I don't want to pay for, which is like for promoting my music and shit. I'm not into it. I don't want my whole life trying to work for money that I give it to other people to be servants for me, okay? I just don't want to do it. I'd rather do what I do and then tell the average person, hey, you're a fucking asshole in the music industry. You suck. I can out-record you, I can outplay you, I can out-entertain you. And by the way, if the American people knew what was best for them, they wouldn't be listening to the same people on the radio every day for the rest of their life. So why don't you stop psychologically abusing them and withdraw from what it is you're doing? Here's a baseball for you. I love to play wiffle ball. Is there a softball? I did. But can I tell you, when I played, you see where that is? Where did Mike Schmidt play? He played third base, right? Mike Schmidt played like right around here. And I played the outfield, and you know why? Because that ball, when it's hit, comes your way at times hard and fast. If you miss it, and did you ever get popped in the face? I remember one time I went for a ground ball, and when I did, I couldn't stop it, and it rode up my arm and smacked me in the face. You know. So I went out further, and then going to catch. Do you know what I used to do? I used to pray to God. Don't let the ball come to me. Make it go somewhere else. So I liked when it came out, and then I would chase after it. So usually if a ball didn't come to me, I would end up going and chasing after it. The coach would say, stand over there more. The coach would acknowledge where the balls, most of them, or batters. Back then my name wasn't Tracilyn, but he'd say, what? Move over. Because he understood that most likely the person who's batting, mixed with the pitcher, most likely is going to hit a ball at the general area of the field. Pretty wild, huh? So Tracilyn used to pray, God, you know, I just want to have fun. I don't want to be hurt. You know, why does the ball have to come my way? I didn't know what else to do. And I remember I was thinking to myself that I should pretty much just help the people out with the gear, polish their bats if they need them cleaned or something. You know, I liked to help out, go down and get them water or food if they wanted something to snack on. I was still the same child that I was at home with my mother, my family. I felt better if I could be of help. Okay? But not everybody appreciates that. And some people say, well, they say it very harshly too. We don't need that. Not them, but I'm just saying some people in life, they'll say, well, that's not what I need. You go work for an employer and I need somebody to do what I need them to do. And you're trying to explain to them, well, isn't there something else that you need somebody to do? Is there something else that I could do? You know what they don't like is when you start pointing out different things that need to get done and that you would be willing to do. They hate that. I can get that done another time. I don't need that done now. I don't need you to point it out. And that ends up being the same thing when you're living with somebody. It's the exact same thing. It's like, did you become my employer or something? And the same argument started, and I think God wanted me to be aware of this. If you're telling people the truth, that I am willing to help you do certain tasks, but I'm telling you, please don't ask me to do these other things because I don't want to get into the details. Do you know that sooner or later, what it is that you don't want them to ask? They're suggested to you, and then when you say no, you already talked about it, they get mad. They can start an argument because you already told them, don't. I am going to go over 2 places, and then I'm out of here. That's it.